Marcus Reid straightened his tie for the third time, checking his reflection in the bathroom mirror of the Fletcher Agricultural Supply headquarters. 15 years with the company, and tonight was finally his night to shine at the annual dinner. 300 guests, the biggest clients, all the important people in Iowa's agricultural industry. "You look perfect," Rachel said from the doorway, smoothing down her navy dress. At 40, his wife still took his breath away. "Stop fidgeting. I just want everything to be right." Thomas is announcing the new contracts tonight. 6 months of work finally paying off. Marcus smiled, pulling Rachel close. "Thank you for coming. I know these things aren't your favorite. You've missed the last 5 because of work. I'm not missing the one where you finally get recognized." Rachel kissed his cheek. "Besides, I want to see my husband get the credit he deserves." They arrived at the Grand Meridian Hotel at 7 p.m. sharp. The ballroom was already filling with farmers in their best suits, equipment dealers, company executives. Marcus shook hands, introduced Rachel, felt the satisfaction of being part of something bigger than himself. Thomas Fletcher, 67, silver-haired and commanding, worked the room like the patriarch he was. 4th-generation owner of Fletcher Agricultural Supply. Everyone wanted his attention, his approval. "Marcus," Thomas clapped him on the shoulder. "Big night tonight. Big announcements." "Yes, sir. The irrigation contracts came through exactly as projected. 23% growth over last quarter. We'll talk about that." Thomas's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Enjoy the dinner." Something in his tone made Marcus's stomach tighten, but he pushed it aside. Paranoia, stress from too many long hours. Dinner was served at 8 p.m., prime rib, roasted vegetables, the works. Marcus barely tasted it, too aware of Rachel beside him, too conscious of the eyes that kept glancing their way. He'd worked so hard to earn respect in this industry, a black man managing operations in a world of multi-generational white farming families. Every success had to be twice as good to be considered half as worthy. At 9 p.m., Thomas stood up to make announcements. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here tonight. Fletcher Agricultural Supply has had an incredible year, and that's due to the hard work of our team." Marcus felt Rachel squeeze his hand under the table. "Which is why it pains me to address a serious matter that's come to my attention." Thomas's expression turned grave. "In any organization, trust is everything. And when that trust is violated, we have to act swiftly and decisively." Marcus's heart started to pound. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Marcus Reid has been our operations manager for 15 years. Thomas looked directly at him. "And it's recently come to light that there have been significant financial discrepancies under his supervision. Unauthorized purchases, missing documentation, funds that cannot be accounted for." The room went silent. 300 people turned to stare at Marcus. "What?" Marcus stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "Thomas, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about $340,000 in irregularities that our internal audit discovered last week. I'm talking about breach of fiduciary duty." Thomas's voice was cold, performative. This was theater for the crowd. "Effective immediately, you're terminated. Security will escort you out." Rachel's hand flew to her mouth. "No, Marcus, I didn't. Thomas, I have never stolen anything." Marcus's voice cracked. "You know that. 15 years I've given you everything, and apparently helped yourself along the way." Thomas nodded to 2 security guards who appeared from the side of the room. "Gentlemen, please escort Mr. Reid from the property." The walk through that ballroom was the longest of Marcus's life. 300 people watching in silence, some pitying, some satisfied. There goes the upstart who thought he belonged. Rachel walked beside him, her hand in his, but he could feel her trembling. In the parking lot, away from watching eyes, Marcus leaned against his car and tried to breathe. "Rachel, I swear to God, I didn't—" "I know." Her voice was steady, but when he looked at her, he saw something that terrified him more than the accusation. Not doubt. Worse. Fear. Fear of what this meant for their family, their future, their stability. "I know you didn't. But Marcus, what are we going to do?" He had no answer. The next 3 months were hell. Word spread through Iowa's agricultural community like wildfire. Marcus Reid, embezzler, thief. can't be trusted. Every job application went unanswered. Every networking call went unreturned. His reputation, built over 15 years of impeccable work, destroyed in one public accusation. Rachel picked up extra shifts at the hospital. Their savings evaporated. The mortgage payments became impossible. Marcus sent out 200 resumes and got 0 interviews. Maybe we need to leave Iowa, Rachel said one night, exhausted from a double shift. Start over somewhere else. And go where? With what money? Marcus stared at the stack of bills on their kitchen table. I can't even get hired at a feed store. Who's going to hire me for management? The worst part wasn't the financial struggle. It was watching Rachel work herself to exhaustion while he sat home, unemployed and unemployable. The man who'd promised to provide, to protect, to build a stable life, now dependent on his wife's nursing salary to keep them afloat. One Saturday morning, desperate for anything to do besides send more useless resumes, Marcus drove to the county livestock auction. Just to get out of the house, just to be around something familiar. The auction was winding down, mostly liquidation sales from struggling farms. That's when he saw Beretta. The Brangus bull was in the last pen, and he looked like death. Ribs visible through dull, patchy coat, eyes sunken and lifeless. He stood with his head lowered, barely responding to the noise around him. Lot 47, the auctioneer called. Brangus bull, age 5. Medical issues, sold as is. No guarantees, no returns. Starting bid $200. No one moved. Come on, folks, look at that frame. Good bones under there. 900? Silence. 700? Someone give me $700? Marcus found himself raising his hand. $600. The auctioneer looked relieved. Sold to bidder 23 for $600. He'd just spent $600 they desperately needed on a dying bull. Marcus didn't even know why. Maybe because Beretta looked exactly how Marcus felt. Discarded, judged worthless, waiting to die. When he pulled into their driveway with the trailer, Rachel came out of the house, confusion on her face. Marcus, what is that? A bull. His name is Beretta. We don't have a farm. We have 2 acres and a mortgage we can't pay. Rachel's voice was tight. Why did you... I don't know. Marcus looked at the sick animal in the trailer. He needed help. Nobody else wanted him. Rachel studied her husband's face for a long moment. Then she sighed. How much? $600. 600... Rachel closed her eyes. That was the car insurance money, Marcus. I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking, Marcus looked at Beretta, then back at his wife. I'll figure it out. I'll sell him once he's better, make the money back. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. What's wrong with him? I don't know yet. But I'm going to find out. For the first time in 3 months, Marcus had something to care about besides his own failure. The first week with Beretta nearly broke Marcus. The bull was sicker than he'd realized. Severe respiratory infection, parasites, malnutrition so extreme his organs were starting to fail. Marcus spent hours researching online, calling every veterinarian in the county who'd still talk to him. Most wouldn't. Word had spread about the embezzler from Fletcher Supply. Doors closed before he could even explain. Dr. Sarah Chen was the exception. A young veterinarian just starting her practice, she agreed to come assess Beretta, on a payment plan Marcus couldn't really afford. Mr. Reid, she said, after examining the bull, I'm honest with you. This animal is critical. Pneumonia, severe parasitic load, possible liver damage, treatment will cost at least $2,500, and even then, she trailed off. The humane thing might be euthanasia. No. Marcus surprised himself with the force of his response. Tell me what he needs. I'll figure out how to pay. Dr. Chen studied him. Can I ask why? You're not a rancher. Why spend money you don't have on a bull that might not survive? Marcus looked at Beretta, weak and trembling. Because everyone's given up on him, including the people who should have cared. I know how that feels. Something in Dr. Chen's expression softened. Okay. But you'll do most of the work yourself. Medications, feeding schedule, monitoring. I'll guide you, but I can't be here every day. I understand. That night, Marcus set up a cot in the barn. Rachel found him there at 2 a.m., checking Beretta's temperature, mixing medication into food the bull wouldn't eat. "You need to sleep," she said quietly. "He's burning up. If the fever gets worse." "Marcus." Rachel sat on a hay bale. "I haven't seen you this focused on anything since you lost your job. You've been disappearing into yourself for 3 months, and now suddenly you're researching bovine medicine at 2 a.m. and actually living again. He's depending on me. I can't let him down." "I know. And maybe that's what you needed. Something that depends on you without judging you." Rachel stood. "But if we're doing this, really committing to saving this bull, we need to be smart. No more impulsive decisions. We work together. Agreed?" "Agreed." Rachel helped him through that night, and the next. They took shifts monitoring Beretta, administering medications, coaxing him to eat. Marcus learned to give injections, to identify distress symptoms, to read the signals of an animal fighting to survive. Slowly, impossibly, Beretta began to improve. By week 3, the bull was eating regularly. By week 5, his coat was starting to shine. By week 8, he'd gained 200 pounds and was walking the fence line with curiosity instead of lethargy. Dr. Chen came for a follow-up and stared at Beretta in disbelief. "I've never seen a recovery like this. What you've done here is remarkable." "We did it together," Marcus said, nodding toward Rachel on the porch. Word started to spread, not through agricultural gossip, but through veterinary circles. The bull that should have died. The man with no farming background who'd saved an animal 3 ranchers had given up on. A livestock nutrition company called asking to study Beretta's recovery. A veterinary journal wanted to write about the case. Marcus said yes to both, desperate for income. The article came out 2 months later. Unconventional Recovery: How Dedication Overcame Inexperience in Saving a Critically Ill Brangus Bull. Marcus's phone rang the next morning. Unknown number from Nebraska. "Mr. Reid, this is James Thornton. I own Thornton Ranch, 600 acres outside Omaha. I read the article about your bull." "Yes, sir." "I'm impressed, not just with the outcome, but your approach. Methodical, resourceful, committed. I'm looking for an operations manager, someone who can think outside the box, solve problems. Your background in agricultural supply, combined with what you accomplished with that bull, I think you'd be perfect." Marcus's heart pounded. "Mr. Thornton, I should tell you, I was terminated from Fletcher Supply. There were accusations of financial misconduct." "I know. I also know Thomas Fletcher is currently under federal investigation for embezzlement." "Funny how that works." Thornton's voice was dry. "I called 6 of your former clients. Every single one said you were the most honest, hardworking person at Fletcher. That tells me everything I need to know. I don't know what to say. Say you'll meet the operation. Salary's $85,000, housing included, health benefits. And here's the thing. I want to buy your bull for my breeding program. Beretta's genetics are excellent, and his recovery proves his constitution. I'll pay $45,000 for him." Marcus felt like he'd been hit. $45,000, plus a job that would restore everything. "One condition," Thornton continued. "The bull comes with you when you relocate. He'll be part of our breeding program. Is that something you'd consider?" Marcus looked out at Beretta, healthy and strong, grazing peacefully. The bull that had saved him by giving him something to fight for. "Can I think about it?" "Take a week. But Marcus, opportunities like this don't come around often. You've earned this. Don't let pride get in the way of taking care of your family." After hanging up, Marcus sat on the porch steps, head in his hands. Rachel came out and sat beside him. "Who was that?" "Someone offering me everything we need." Marcus told her about the job, the money, the opportunity. "But I have to sell Beretta." "That's wonderful. Why do you look like someone died?" "Because he saved my life, Rachel. When I had nothing, no job, no prospects, no purpose, he gave me a reason to get up every morning. And now I'm supposed to sell him like he's just livestock?" Rachel took his hand. "He is livestock, honey. That's the reality. And this is the opportunity we've been praying for." "I know. You're right." But that night, Marcus sat beside Beretta in the darkness. "I don't know what to do," he whispered. Everyone says I should take the job. Sell you, move on, be practical. Beretta's breathing was steady, peaceful. The bull everyone had written off as worthless now worth $45,000. Marcus had saved Beretta. But in truth, Beretta had saved him first. And he had 1 week to decide if that was worth more than money could measure. Marcus spent 3 sleepless nights wrestling with the decision. $85,000 salary, $45,000 for Beretta, housing included, everything they needed to rebuild their lives. But every time he looked at Beretta, he remembered those first terrible weeks, the bull trembling with fever at 2 a.m. The way Beretta's eyes had been empty, defeated, just like Marcus's reflection after being fired. The slow transformation as they both fought back from rock bottom. "You're overthinking this," Rachel said on the 4th morning. "It's a bull, Marcus. Yes, you saved him, but he's livestock, and this is our chance to get our lives back." "I know that. Logically, I know. Then what's the problem?" Marcus struggled to find words. "When Thomas fired me in front of everyone, I felt erased. Like 15 years didn't matter. I was just disposable." "You're not disposable." "But that's how I felt. Then I bought Beretta, and everyone thought I was crazy, wasting money on a dying bull. But I saw myself in him, an animal 3 ranchers threw away because he was too much trouble." Rachel's expression softened. "And you proved them wrong. We saved each other. When I had nothing, no job, no prospects, taking care of Beretta gave me purpose. He trusted me when no one else would. And now I'm supposed to treat him like inventory. Buy him. Sell him. Move on. That's the cattle business, honey. That's how it works." "I know. But it feels wrong." On the 5th day, Marcus drove to Nebraska to tour Thornton Ranch. The operation was impressive. 600 acres of pristine pasture, state-of-the-art facilities, a breeding program that supplied cattle across 3 states. James Thornton, 58, weathered and sharp-eyed, walked Marcus through the operation. "We run about 400 head. Your job would be overseeing feed logistics, veterinary schedules, equipment maintenance, staff management." "It's impressive. You'd be good at this. You've got the mind for it. And you see animals as individuals, not just numbers. That article about Beretta? Most people would have cut losses after a week. You fought for him because you saw his potential. That's who I want running my operation." They discussed salary, benefits, housing, a 3-bedroom house on the property. Everything was perfect. "So, what's holding you back?" James asked directly. "Selling Beretta. I know it makes financial sense, but it feels like betrayal, because he's more than livestock to you." "Yes." James studied him. "Let me ask you something. If you don't take this job, what happens?" "We keep struggling. Rachel keeps working double shifts. We probably lose the house." "And Beretta?" "I'd have to sell him anyway, probably for less than $45,000. So either way, you lose him. The question is whether you get something in return that helps your family, or whether pride costs you everything." Marcus hated that the logic made sense. "Here's what I'll offer," James said. "Take the job. Sell me Beretta for the breeding program, but you manage his care personally. You oversee his health, his breeding schedule, his quality of life. You don't lose him. You just change your relationship with him." "That's generous. It's practical. You know that bull better than anyone, and it keeps you invested." James extended his hand. "What do you say?" Marcus looked at the ranch, the rolling pastures, the quality facilities, the future it represented. Then he thought about Beretta. Healthy, because Marcus refused to give up. "Can I have until tomorrow?" "Of course. But think about what your wife needs, what your family needs. Sometimes doing right by them means making hard choices about what we keep and what we let go." That night, Marcus sat with Beretta in the barn. The bull was lying peacefully, chewing cud, so different from the dying animal 4 months ago. "I got you a good home," Marcus said quietly. "Best facilities in Nebraska. You'll be treated well, and I'll still see you every day. It's not like I'm abandoning you." Beretta's ear twitched, content, trusting. "Rachel's right. You're livestock. This is business. I need to take care of my family." Marcus's voice cracked. "But God, I wish there was another way." Rachel appeared in the doorway. "There isn't another way, Marcus. James Thornton is offering you a second chance. Don't throw it away because you're attached to a bull. He's not just a bull. I know. But he's also not more important than our family, our future, or your career. You saved his life. Now, let him save yours by accepting what you're being offered. Marcus knew she was right. But accepting it meant acknowledging that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes the right choice breaks your heart. Okay, he whispered. I'll call James tomorrow and accept. Rachel squeezed his shoulder. You're doing the right thing. But as Marcus sat alone with Beretta, he wondered if doing the right thing was supposed to hurt this much. Marcus called James Thornton the next morning and accepted the job. They'd move to Nebraska in 2 weeks. Beretta would be transported to Thornton Ranch as part of the deal. Rachel cried with relief. We're going to be okay, finally. Marcus tried to feel the same relief, but all he felt was hollow. The next week passed in a blur of packing. Marcus spent every spare moment with Beretta, memorizing details, the way the bull's ear twitched when Marcus approached, the low rumble he made when content. You're acting like he's dying, Rachel said gently. Everything's changing, and he's the one thing that stayed constant when my world fell apart. 3 days before the move, Marcus's phone rang. Unknown Iowa number. Mr. Reid, this is Agent Patricia Gomez, FBI Financial Crimes Division. I'm calling about Fletcher Agricultural Supply. Marcus's stomach dropped. What about it? We've been investigating Thomas Fletcher for embezzlement. During our investigation, your name came up, specifically your termination circumstances. I didn't steal anything. We know. Our forensic accountants determined the $340,000 in discrepancies Fletcher attributed to you were actually part of his own embezzlement scheme. He used your departmental codes to hide fraudulent transactions, then fired you publicly to establish you as the scapegoat. Marcus couldn't breathe. What? Mr. Fletcher has been arrested. 15 counts of fraud and embezzlement. We're issuing a formal statement exonerating you of any wrongdoing. You might also want to contact a lawyer. Several colleagues indicated interest in supporting a civil suit for defamation and wrongful termination. After hanging up, Marcus sat in stunned silence, cleared, exonerated, vindicated. Rachel found him on the porch. Marcus, what's wrong? Thomas Fletcher was arrested. FBI investigation. He framed me. The words tumbled out. They're clearing my name. It's over, Rachel. They held each other and cried. Not just relief, but grief for the 3 months they'd lost, the suffering they'd endured. By morning, Marcus's phone was ringing constantly. Former colleagues apologizing, clients reconnecting, 3 job offers from Iowa companies. The Des Moines Register ran a front-page story. Local executive exonerated after employer's arrest in $2.4 million embezzlement scheme. His name cleared, his reputation restored. Everything he'd lost, suddenly available again. That afternoon, James Thornton called. Marcus, I saw the news. Congratulations. I imagine you're getting job offers now. So I need to ask, are you still planning to come to Nebraska? Marcus looked out at Beretta, grazing peacefully. Can I ask you something, James? Why did you hire me when everyone thought I was a thief? Because 6 clients told me you were the most honest person they'd worked with. Because you spent $600 you couldn't afford saving a bull everyone gave up on. Character reveals itself in how people act when no one's watching and nothing's easy. You showed me your character. The accusations didn't matter. Marcus felt something shift inside. I'm still coming to Nebraska. Not because I need the job now, because I want it. You believed in me when no one else did. That matters. What about Beretta? I'll understand if you want to keep him now. Marcus watched the bull, remembering those first terrible weeks. No. The deal stands. You get Beretta, I manage his care. He deserves the best program, the best facilities. I saved his life, but you're giving him a future. You're a good man, Marcus Reid. 2 days before the move, Marcus received a settlement offer from Fletcher's insurance company. $500,000 for wrongful termination and defamation. Marcus took it. Not for revenge, but for Rachel. For the stability they'd never have to worry about again. That night, Marcus sat with Beretta one final time. We did it, he told the bull quietly. Both of us. Everyone said we were finished, but we survived. Tomorrow, you're going to Nebraska where you'll sire champions, and I'm going to rebuild my career. We both get second chances." Beretta made that low, contented rumble. "Thank you for giving me something to fight for when I had nothing left, for showing me that being written off isn't the same as being worthless." The bull that nobody wanted had given Marcus back his name, and somehow that made letting him go a little easier. 6 months after moving to Nebraska, Marcus stood at the fence watching Beretta in the breeding pasture. The bull had gained another 300 pounds of muscle, his coat gleaming. He was magnificent, the centerpiece of Thornton Ranch's breeding program. "He's produced 5 calves so far," James said, joining Marcus. "Every single one exceptional quality. He's come a long way from that auction pen." "So have you." James handed Marcus a folder. 6 months as operations manager, and you've increased our efficiency by 18%. This is a partnership offer. 20% stake in Thornton Ranch. You've earned it." Marcus stared at the contract. A partnership, equity, security beyond anything he'd imagined when he was unemployed and desperate. "Say yes," James urged. "Rachel's made friends here. Your kids are thriving. This is your home now." Marcus looked at Beretta. The bull everyone had written off was now siring champions. The man everyone called a thief was now a partner in a premier ranching operation. Yes, absolutely yes. 2 weeks later, Marcus attended Thomas Fletcher's sentencing. The courtroom was packed. Fletcher sat at the defense table, no longer commanding but a 67-year-old man facing 20 years in prison. "Mr. Fletcher," the judge said, "you didn't just steal money. You stole people's livelihoods, their reputations. Marcus Reid lost his career, his savings, his dignity, because you needed a scapegoat." Fletcher was sentenced to 18 years. As guards led him away, he looked at Marcus one last time. Marcus felt nothing, no satisfaction, just relief that it was over. Later that month, Thornton Ranch hosted its annual breeding showcase. Ranchers from 6 states came to view Beretta. A young rancher approached Marcus. "Mr. Reid, I'm Daniel Foster. I heard your story about saving a sick bull everyone gave up on. It inspired me. I've got a bull right now. Everyone says I should put him down. Would you look at him?" Marcus studied the photos on Daniel's phone, saw the same hollow eyes Beretta once had. "It's going to be hard, expensive, exhausting, but if you're committed, really committed, there's always a chance." That's all I needed to hear. Daniel shook his hand. "Thank you." After Daniel left, James appeared. "You just gave that kid hope." "Beretta gave me hope when I had none. Least I can do is pass it on." That evening, Marcus visited Beretta's pen one last time. The bull approached the fence, that familiar low rumble of recognition. "You did good," Marcus said quietly. "Everyone wanted to throw you away, but look at you now, siring champions. You're not just surviving, you're thriving." Beretta pressed his massive head against Marcus's hand. "You saved my life by giving me something to fight for, and I'll spend the rest of my career helping animals like you, the ones everyone gives up on." Rachel called from the truck. "Marcus, we need to get home." Marcus patted Beretta one last time. "See you tomorrow, big guy." As they drove away, Rachel squeezed his hand. "No regrets?" Marcus thought about the journey, the humiliation, the desperation, the bull nobody wanted, the vindication, the partnership, the new beginning. No regrets. Beretta gave me back my name. But more than that, he taught me that being written off isn't the end of your story. It's just the beginning of proving everyone wrong. In the pasture behind them, Beretta stood in the Nebraska sunset, no longer a sick bull nobody wanted, but a champion that Marcus had refused to give up on. And Marcus Reid was no longer a disgraced manager, but a partner, a success story, and proof that sometimes the things we save end up saving us right back. My boss fired me in front of my wife, and that sick bull I bought after, it gave me back my name.